Hello, wrestling fans. This is Rough Cuts LASARDO. Hello, wrestling fans. This is Rough Cuts LASARDO reporting in from my new home here in Orlando, Florida. As you can tell by the background, I need some ideas. Maybe get a painting for my background or something, right? That would be kind of nice. I've been getting a lot of questions recently on Twitter and email regarding my thoughts on the recent WWE releases, and do I think that we will see them show up someplace else? What do you think about that? And also, another question that came about is Roman Reigns being really protected? A lot of people have been reading that on Twitter. I'm going to answer that, all this, and a whole lot more on Rough Cards. Please be advised, these are my opinions only. They're not affiliated with Bill Apter or any wrestling promotion. As far as the WWE release are concerned, first of all, Samoa Joe was released. He was one of the names, the big names out there. Samoa Joe was doing commentary and just was a part of WrestleMania, and then now he's gone. Well, I don't. I think this was more of a mutual decision. I do believe that Samoa Joe really wants to wrestle still, and I think this has to do with the WWE not clearing him to wrestle. Maybe he wanted to wrestle as well as do some commentary. He's great on the commentary. There's no doubt about it. He's really added a life to the commentary world, and it was a breath of fresh air on it. But I really believe he still wants to wrestle. And I think this was more of a mutual decision per se, rather than a release per se, for him to be able to go elsewhere and wrestle. I expect him to go to Impact after his 90-day contract expires and go back there. I don't think that AEW will sign him. I think Impact will be the best case scenario for him. And he's already been there. He's a prodigy, really, a product of what Dixie Carter was when Dixie was back there, and Jarrett and all them. So I think that'll be the best fit for him, and I think that's where he will end up sometime in July or August when his 90-day no clause compete is over. So yes, I do expect we'll see Samoa Joe back in the ring as long as he gets cleared, and if he does get cleared, and as long as I believe that they will. Unless there's something going on that we're not aware of. I do expect to see Samoa Joe back in the ring by late summer, early fall for Impact Wrestling. The Iconics are gone. Billie Kay was doing this resume gimmick. She was also a part of WrestleMania 37. Peyton Royce has not been much involved at all, and now they're released. Well, the thing is, this is a travesty in itself. First of all, the biggest part of the travesty is that they broke up the Iconics. And as you know, as the women's tag team division, this doesn't seem relevant at all. I mean, teams are breaking up, and it's just been a mess. But Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, I went on another rough cuts about Peyton as underutilized performers, and you can't knock it. I mean, she just really has not been given a true chance to perform. And when you're not giving her a true chance to get in the ring and shine week in and week out, I mean, what do you expect? She's basically in wrestling purgatory. Billie Kay was doing this thing with the resume act, but the whole thing was the Iconics, the girls from down under. You break them up, and there's really not much left. And at least if you kept them together, they would probably at this point would have been better off winning the women's tag team title belts and going through the different brands. And then maybe Billie could wrestle individually or Peyton could wrestle individually. But you break them up, and now they're done. And you know, it's a travesty. It was wrong to begin with to break them up, and now they're both gone. And this just goes to show what's going on here. I mean, I think the women's division is in a state of confusion. And, by releasing them, and we'll get to Mickey in a minute, but, these are two ladies that did not deserve this, and they deserve to stay together, and they should have at least gotten the belts back. I mean, Baszler and Nia, yeah, Baszler needed to get some gold around her waist, but now, it's now time for the Iconics to should have been together, get it, but we're not going to get that. Where do they go? Well, they're not going to leave the United States, so they're not going back home. Remember, Peyton is married in real life to Sean Spears, who's now in AEW, so She's staying at least. Now, as far as Billy, we don't know. But I believe they will stick together. And the question is, will AEW sign them? They're going to have to make room on their roster in order to sign these two. I'm not saying they're not going to come cheap, but the women's division is kind of loaded. If you watch on Tuesday night and on Wednesday nights, there is a lot of women there, and now you're going to have to find a place for them. And yes, they are big names per se because they're former champions, and you're promoting a brand. And a lot of people want to see them go down there to get that exposure. I don't have a problem with it, but Tony's going to have to find a way to work it in. I mean, is there going to be a couple of casualties on his roster to bring them in? And that's going to be the question. And maybe there will be some casualties on the roster as far as that people are not being used enough are going to have to maybe go. Maybe, the veterans or something. Sometimes there's going to have to be some room being made to give them the appropriate television time that is needed, that they deserve. You're not going to bring them in and not use them. You're not going to have them go what they're going through now, which led to the release. So if you're going to bring them in, you're going to have to use them. You're going to have them on television every week, and they're going to have them on their pay-per-views. And we're going to find out come July. And I think that would be the best fit for them to go to AEW if possible. And I think the exposure for them would be a lot better because it'll be a much broader audience per se than Impact. So let's hope we see the Iconics in some fashion back in July. They were both very professional about it on Twitter, but it is a travesty that they got broken up, and it's a travesty that they've been released. Mickie James has just been treated awful since this time coming back. Absolutely awful. And how do you treat a Hall of Famer like this is just beyond me. She's going to go back. She's going to go to Impact. I don't see how she doesn't go to Impact. She was already there. She was already a champion there. She will go back to Impact in July, August. Sherry said she's not done. And I don't see how any way, shape, or form that she does not go back to Impact at all. And yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, she needs to go back. So, how do you treat a Hall of Famer like this? This is just uncalled for. She is a Hall of Fame or world champion multiple times, and she didn't do anything on this run. And I don't believe that had anything to do with the epidemic. This was not treated fairly this time around. But she'll go back to Impact. She'll go to Impact. She's already made her mark there. That's when the WWE brought her back. She was, contracted by Impact. She left on good terms. She will emerge over there. So I could see her going there and Samoa Joe. Otis's Otis is gone or something. And this whole thing too. The Money in the Bank got lost, and he really didn't have much to do. And it'd be interesting to see where he's going or what he's going to do going forward. I don't know. I don't see AEW signing him. I just don't see it. I don't even see Impact signing him right now. I think he's going to have to repackage himself and I think work the indie scene for a little while and really come up with a different type of a gimmick in order to be successful. And it's unfortunate, but they gave him the belt, and then he didn't even lose the belt. The Miz basically took it. I mean, they just didn't have any use for it at all, and the whole thing with Mandy Rose, the storyline totally dropped, and he's got to repackage himself, and I expect to see him up on the indie scene, if anything, or maybe Ring of Honor or something, to retool himself and work his way up the ranks to the AEW Impact, maybe even back to the WWE down the road. Bo knows wrestling, but Bo is not wrestling. Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's brother, is gone as well. He hasn't been on TV in a while. Remember, I mentioned him in my rough cuts as well. And he's got things going on outside of wrestling, as you know. He started a real estate business. He is involved with Liv Morgan. Yes, he is involved with Liv, and they're doing the farm thing. I think Bo seems kind of content at this point. I don't think we're going to see Bo and AEW Impact at all. I really don't. Some people thought he was the Fiend or something. Now, he already came out and clarified he was not dressed as the Fiend at all. I think that, yeah, I think that he is done. I think he set himself up for life outside of wrestling, and with his relationship with Liv and the real estate business and other ventures that he has going on and the farm that they're doing. I think Bo's in-ring career is completely done, and I think that's it for the end of Bo altogether. And it's unfortunate. He had a nice run. I liked his gimmick. I think the WWE did not use it properly. He was very talented, hardworking, underrated, and they just did not find a place for him on television. And it's sad, but it happens to a lot of these performers, and we take it for granted. And Bo was smart enough to realize that the end was coming, and he did prepare himself to have other ventures. And a lot of these men and women, sometimes they just don't have a life outside of wrestling. Not everybody can be like the John Cena, The Rock, The Undertaker, kind of guys that are able to go on to movie careers or backstage producers like Arn Anderson and, and so on and so forth. A lot of them became trainers and producers and other things. But I'm glad Bo was able to set himself up for the future, and it looks pretty bright. We just won't be seeing him in the ring, but his name may pop up. If you're looking for a home or something, it may pop up in that regards. And also, we do wish him the best of well with him and Liv, and hopefully that'll continue to work out. Let's. There were a couple other releases, but those were the main core. There was talk additional releases probably in NXT. We'll keep you updated as the time goes on, but you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, it is a business, and the owners of the company, WWE, Impact, AEW, they all have a right to terminate their contract. Nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow is promised to no one in the business, and if they do want to terminate the agreement, if they're not being used, then the performer knows what they signed up for. And sometimes we take that for granted. It's just like in our own job. We're working today, we could be out of work tomorrow. It's just the way it goes. And it's unfortunate, but it is the reality of life, even epidemic and no epidemic. This is the reality of life, and we have to accept that. We really do. Is that no job is safe anywhere. My job is not safe. Nobody's job is, not even a performer, not an athlete, no one. And we have to live and accept that. And just because they're under contract doesn't mean the employer cannot terminate them at any time. But I'm glad to see that Bo has other things going on. A lot of these other performers. Peyton's married to Sean, and Peyton will show up elsewhere. Chelsea Green, let me get real quick. Chelsea Green was also released, and she's married also to one of the performers in real life as well. Chelsea Green was she's married to Zack Ryder, and Chelsea was been injured a lot on and off, and we never really got to see what her true potential really is or would be, despite the number of injuries that she had suffered. And that's another thing too that can lead to a dismissal. And I don't think it's the end of Chelsea. I could see Chelsea end up in AEW if she can stay healthy and get healthy in July or August. I think that'll give her enough time to work herself back. I know she seemed to be back, but really work herself back. I would like to see Chelsea. She's young enough to be given a shot, and I think AEW would be a really nice fit for her. And I would like to see her back in some fashion. I just think the injuries just were too much for the WWE and couldn't really get her going in a storyline. But I think the next couple months off, and I think it would be very ideal for Chelsea to just start fresh someplace. AEW, which I could see her going, would be another. Would be with the Iconics would be the ideal fit for her. Even if it's on Tuesday nights to start, and then work from maybe up to Wednesday nights, because I think she could have some nice feuds with Britt, DeRosa, Sandler, and all those ladies. She can have some nice feuds, but she's going to start on Tuesday nights, and I think that would be the best place for her. The Iconics need to be on Wednesday night, Billy and Peyton, but Chelsea could start on Tuesday and work her way over. Before I wrap up, the question I've been getting asked a lot by a lot of people is, Roman Reigns won at WrestleMania, and I did thought that maybe Daniel Bryan would have won because of all the bad luck he's had, or at least an edge, and then Roman will go after him and get it back. But now the question is Roman Reigns really going to be protected? And after WrestleMania showing, It does very seem like it. I did say that in the beginning, before this thing with Daniel Bryan, that I felt that Roman was going to hold it at least till he faces faces The Rock, maybe in LA or Dallas of next year. Well, after this WrestleMania and the Bryan not getting it, um, it's very well possible. I really think the money is there for The Rock, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar. I don't know how it's going to take off with Brock, because Brock can come back, and that was Paul Heyman's former guy, and that could be a heck of a feud. It'll be interesting to see how the crowd's going to react, because I don't think the crowd cares either way for either one of them. It's going to be two heels, and it's going to be tough to get Brock over as a face. But then again, they're booing Roman left and right, so anything is possible. Or maybe Paul Heyman turns on Roman. I don't buy that. I really don't. I don't buy it, because I don't think the fans are going to cheer Roman anyway. So that's a big payoff. The bigger payoff would be against Cena or The Rock. That would be the big payoff, but that has to be on a WrestleMania stage. Is Cena or Rock going to get the belt? Probably not. I mean, Cena, I think, is going to be a Hollywood guy, as is The Rock. I don't see either of those guys getting the belt, but I think the whole build and the match itself could be very intriguing, to say the least, and I think that's what they want. Will Brock happen with Roman? Yeah, I think it'll happen. I just don't think it's a bigger payoff than what we would be getting with The Rock. Can you smell what he's cooking? I'm the head of my table. You're not the head of the table. The whole build-up can be exciting. I think they can still put on a very good match. I mean, even with The Rock being older. And John Cena is still, young enough. He's not old, but he's been out of the ring a bit, but he could still turn it up. And I think they would have a heck of a match. Cena would get cheered left and right. So would The Rock. So I bet that has to be saved for a WrestleMania. And could we then see it next year? I mean, yeah, I think so. I don't think Roman's losing the belt between now and next year. And even with the payoff, it's not going to happen. I think Roman's going to hold it for another year, 2 years, barring any kind of unforeseen circumstances that may happen outside of the ring. I don't see how Roman loses the belt anytime soon. So to answer your question, yeah, he is going to be protected, because the money's going to be there. If the epidemic continues to subside, more and more people start flooding the arenas and the outdoor venues. Yeah, the payoff's going to be there. I mean, Alabama over the weekend for their spring football recently just had 47,000 people for spring football. Imagine what they're going to put in Dallas next year and LA the year after. Yeah, Vince is going to want 100,000 people. And yeah, you're going to save the payoff for next year. So yeah, Roman's going to defend his belt, but he's not losing. They're going to save it. It's not going to be for SummerSlam. It's got to be for an outdoor venue like WrestleMania. And if they don't get The Rock for next year, it'll be Cena first. And I think Brock will be more for SummerSlam. I think that would be more ideal. SummerSlam and into the fall, into the Survivor Series. I think that's where that will go. But Cena and The Rock will be saved for WrestleMania for sure over the next 2 years. And then we'll see where we're at that point. And hopefully we're all in a better position going forward. So that answers your question for this week's edition of Rough Cuts. I hope you enjoyed it very much. It was my pleasure to bring it to you. As always, be safe, and may all of your matches be a main event, as always. Be right back at you next week. Have a good one, guys.